بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So inshallah we'll be beginning our journey with the Fiqh of Hajj and how to do the Hajj and what things to stay away and to understand the whole picture of Hajj. So the first thing we want to discuss is the virtues of Hajj. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in a hadith collected by Imam al-Bukhari, he said sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "Man hajja hadha al-bayt, falam yarfuth, walam yafsuq, raja'a kayawmi waladathu ummuh." That whoever performs Hajj to the house of Allah, al-Kaaba, and he does not become intimate with his wife, and he does not commit sins during Hajj, he will come back just as he was born and delivered by his mother, sinless. And also, العمرة إلى العمرة كفارة لما بينهما والحج المبرور ليس له جزاء إلا الجنة. That Umrah to Umrah is a kafara, an expiation for the sins. And the Hajj al-Mabrur, the Hajj that's accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's according to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Hajj that is sincere only for Allah's pleasure, that has no reward except entering into al-Jannah. This hadith collected by Imam Muslim. The next thing we want to discuss is the rulings for Hajj. Is it mandatory? Is it recommended? This is something that's agreed upon by all of the scholars of Islam, bil ijma', consensus that Hajj is mandatory for a Muslim man and a Muslim woman once in their lifetime. And that's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bunya al-Islamu ala khams, shahadati an la ilaha illallah, wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, wa iqam as-salah, wa ita'i az-zakah, wa hajj al-bayt, wa sawmi Ramadan." That the Prophet ﷺ explained to us the 5 pillars of Islam, and one of those pillars that Islam has been built on is the Hajj of the house of Allah, to do the Hajj to the house of Allah. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. And due to Allah from the people is the pilgrimage, the Hajj to the house of Allah for the one who is able to do so. And now to discuss the conditions. So the conditions are things that have to be in place for the Hajj to be mandatory. For the Hajj to be mandatory for somebody, these are the conditions to be met. And some of these conditions is for the Hajj to be mandatory, and some of these conditions is for the Hajj to be accepted. So the first condition is the person has to be Muslim. If the person is not Muslim, this Hajj is not mandatory for them, and this Hajj is also not accepted. And the mature, the one who is baligh and mukallaf, the one who has reached the age of puberty, and the person who is in the age of maturity. This person, if he does the Hajj before he reaches that age, then that Hajj will be voluntary and it will not be the mandatory one. But once he's after that, then that person has met the conditions to meet the Hajj. And the person must be sane. The person must be aqil, he must be sane. So anyone who's not sane, the Hajj is not mandatory on them. And the one must be able to do so with his physical body, with his wealth, and with his transportation. The person must be able for the Hajj to be mandatory for him. And the next condition is the person must be free. It cannot be someone who is a slave. Someone must be free to be able to do the Hajj. And also a condition that's for the woman is the woman must have a mahram. And this here is a condition for the wujub. That this person, for the woman, for it to be mandatory, she must have a mahram. If she has no mahram, then it's not mandatory. And if the woman goes, and this is a sin, but her Hajj is accepted. The next thing we discuss is the pillars of Hajj. The pillars of Hajj is something that is mandatory to do, and if it is neglected, the Hajj is invalid. The Hajj is invalid. And these are 4 things. First of all is ihram, to be in the state of ihram. So we have to know the difference between wearing the clothes of ihram, becoming in the state of ihram, and having the intention. The intention is just to have it in your heart that I am going to go to do Umrah, or I'm going to go do Hajj. The state of ihram is when you are at the miqat, as is from the wajibat, which as we will find out, and the person to say Allahumma labbaika Umrah or Allahumma labbaika Hajjan, to go into the state of ihram. And the last one is to wearing the clothes of ihram. You can wear the clothes of ihram, but does not mean you are in a state of ihram. And just a side note here, if somebody fears that something could happen to them, or their Hajj cannot be completed, or their Umrah cannot be completed, then they should make this supplication, Allahumma mahilli haythu habastani. To Allah free them from the things that they are unable to control. And this is, so for example, if somebody cannot finish his Umrah and Hajj, and if he has made this supplication, then he will not have to offer a ransom, a compensation. And the second pillar is the Tawaf of Al-Hajj. So this is the Tawaf of Al-Hajj, not the other types of Tawaf that will be done in this time period, but the Tawaf of Al-Ifada, or Tawaf Al-Ziyara, or Tawaf Al-Hajj, as they have many different names. The next thing is a Sa'i of Al-Hajj. That is a mandatory action of Al-Hajj. And then the last one is Wuquf Arafah, to be in Arafah. And this is, even if it is for a little bit, this is still considered Wuquf Arafah. But as we'll find out, it is from the mandatory actions of the Wajibat that somebody stays there until sunset. The next thing is the Wajibat of the Hajj. The Wajibat of the Hajj are mandatory actions, but if it is neglected, then somebody must offer a ransom or compensation, a fidya. So from those are the ihram from the miqat. So the ihram from the miqat, from those specific places that the Prophet ﷺ ordered the companions and the Muslim Ummah to do it, is from the miqat. We will discuss the miqat in detail later on. And then standing in Arafah until sunset. For the one who gets to Arafah in the daytime, to stand in Arafah until the sunset. And then sleeping in Muzdalifah. Sleeping into Muzdalifah is from the wajibat of Al-Hajj. But if somebody is unable from sickness or old age, then they can stay until the safer opinion, all the way until the last third of the night. Or if they leave at midnight, is also no problem. And then the next action from the wajibat is cutting the hair or shaving the hair. And this is done after, on the day of Eid, after the Jamarat. And the Jamarat are also from the actions of Al-Wajibat, that it is done on the day of Eid, Yawm al-Nahar, and also the days of Tashriq, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And then sleeping in Mina in the days of Tashriq, and that's the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And the last one is Tawaf al-Wada'. Tawaf al-Wada'. Tawaf al-Wada' is the farewell tawaf that is done the last day before leaving Mecca. And also keep in mind the days of Tashriq, if somebody is doing the Muta'ajjal package, which is only 2 days of Tashriq, they will be doing the 11th and 12th. The ones who are doing Muta'akhir are going to be 11th, 12th, and 13th. And now to discuss the different types of Hajj. So we have 3 types of Hajj. The Hajj al-Tamattu', which is doing a complete Umrah in the month of Hajj. So that's Shawwal, Dhul-Qa'dah, and Dhul-Hijjah, the first days of Dhul-Hijjah. And he will make sure on the 8th of Dhul-Hijjah to go back in Ihram and do the rituals of Hajj. And this person must do al-hadi, have a slaughter of an animal, of the sheep or the 7th of a cow or camel. And then for this person to enter into Tamattu', he will basically just need to say Allahumma labbayka umrah. And then when he comes and does the Hajj time, he will say Allahumma labbayka hajjan. Or somebody can say Allahumma labbayka umratan mutamatti'an biha ila al-hajj. As for the second type of Hajj is Hajj al-Qiran. Hajj al-Qiran is when you do Umrah and Hajj combined with one tawaf and one sa'i. And this person will also offer al-hadi. And this person, when he gets into the state of ihram, he will basically say Allahumma labbayka umratan wa hajjan. And then the third is al-ifrad, which is just to do the actions of Hajj only with no Umrah combined with it. And this person does not have to offer hadi. And this is the order of virtuous types of Hajj. So the most virtuous type of Hajj is the Tamattu', then Qiran, then Ifrad. And this to clarify for women who have entered into the state of menstruation in this time period, they will not be able to do Tamattu', and they will need to convert their Hajj into Qiran, because she's not allowed to do Tawaf or pray while she's in her menstruation cycle. So just because also the Tamattu', you'll need to do a full Umrah, and as you cannot do a Tawaf for the Umrah, which is a pillar for the Umrah, that means you will not be able to do the Umrah, which means you'll need to switch it into Qiran, as what happened to Aisha radiallahu anha. And then the sister will also need to make up Tawaf al-Ifada. So if she maybe finishes from her menstruation cycle by the end of the Hajj, she can combine her Tawaf al-Wada' and Tawaf al-Ifada together. If she did not, then she will need to stay until she finishes from her menstruation cycle and then do her tawaf, or she can leave and come back and do it at a later time. Now just look at the locations of Al-Hajj. So the main locations are four. Al-Haram in the Mecca area, then Mina, which we will spend on the 8th and also the days of Tashriq, and Arafah on the 9th, and Muzdalifah. And then you go in this little circle. So we have here Al-Haram, and you have the Mina, Arafah is outside, and then Muzdalifah, and you come back to Mina. And here's areas of Miqat. So these are the areas of the Miqat of anyone who is coming outside of this circle. He must, when he passes through the Miqat, do the Ihram from these areas. Al-Juhfa, Dhul Hulayfa, Al-Madina, That Al-Arq, and Kanu al-Manzil, and Yalamnum in the south towards Yemen. So these are the areas of Ihram, the areas of the Miqat. And if somebody who's inside these areas, in this circle, inside the circle, he will do the Ihram from the place he's at. And for the people of Mecca, they need to go outside of the Hill, go to the Hill outside the Haram to be able to go into Miqat for their Umrah. And also keep in mind, if someone's doing tamattu and he does his Umrah, and while he's in Mecca, if he's getting ready to do the Hajj, he'll make his Ihram from wherever he is at in the Mecca area. So if he's at his hotel in Mecca and he already finished his Umrah and he's waiting for the Hajj on the 8th day of the Hijjah, he will or she will go into Ihram from wherever they're at. And here's the map of the Mahshar, of the areas. So we have Al-Mina area, Muzdalifah, and Arafah. And this is Batn Urana, and this is Al-Muhassar in this area between Muzdalifah and Mina. And Batn Urana is the area that the Prophet ﷺ stopped in to pray his Dhuhr and Asr combined in the time of Dhuhr, and he did the khutbah of Al-Hajj here in this area. So as we mentioned, if someone is outside of the Miqat area, then they must make the Ihram from the Miqat. And if somebody is from the inside the circle of of the Miqat, outside of the Haram area, then they make Ihram for wherever he or she intends. And if somebody is from the Haram area, then they have to go to the Hill to do the Ihram for Umrah. But for Hajj, for the people of Mecca, they can make the Ihram for Hajj from wherever they're at. So now to discuss the forbidden things in Ihram. So once you are in a state of Ihram, there are things that are not allowed for the person to do. Some of them are for men only. Some of them are for women only. Some of them can invalidate your Hajj. And some things will just require a ransom, a compensation for. So some of the Ihram, forbidden actions in Ihram are covering the head for men only. So the person should not wear a hat or a kufi or any head covering while he's in the state of Ihram. This is only for things that stick to your head and fit into the head. For example, somebody's wearing something on his shoulder that goes over his head like an umbrella, that is fine. Like holding an umbrella, it's fine. The second thing is wearing any fitted clothes. So a lot of people assume this is anything that's stitched, but that's not correct. That is anything that's fitted for the body. This is not allowed for the men only. Okay, and then the next thing, number 3, is putting on perfume on the clothes or on the body after the state of Ihram. So to put cologne or perfume or anything that has a strong smell on your body or in clothes after the state of Ihram is not allowed. Before the state of Ihram, you can put perfume on your body, but it is not recommended. It's not good to do. It's put on the clothes as well. Just put it on the body, but not the clothes before the state of Ihram. After the state of Ihram, you're not allowed to put any type of perfume or cologne on your body or Ihram clothes. The next thing is taking anything from your hair or your nails. Once you're in the state of Ihram, you're not allowed to cut anything from your nails or your hair. And this both goes for both men and women. The 5th thing is conducting a marriage. This is not allowed in the state of Ihram. Number 6, to have intercourse with someone's spouse. This is not allowed in ihram, and this action will invalidate your hajj. It will make your hajj null and void. Number 7, anything that leads to intercourse, foreplay, kissing, anything that can lead up to that, this is also not allowed in the state of ihram. And also, number 8, hunting an animal that can be eaten that is wild. Animal that's free, that's in the wild and is allowed to be eaten, is haram to hunt it. So that means things like mosquitoes or anything harmful, you're allowed to kill. But anything that can be eaten and that's wild, then you're not allowed to hunt those animals. And number 9, covering the face for a woman for no need. So for if there is no men around her, then the woman should not cover her face in that situation, in the state of ihram. But if there are men around or non-mahram, then as Aisha radiallahu anha, she will put her veil down to cover her face when she was in the state of ihram. But covering the face for a woman when there's no need is from the things that are forbidden in ihram. And also for the woman to wear gloves in the state of ihram is also from the forbidden things. So important to mention, after the tahallul al-ula or the tahallul al-asghar, the first stage of removing your ihram will be done after you do the Rami al-Jamarat on day of Eid, slaughtering the sheep, or doing your slaughter al-hadi, and also cutting the hair. Once those actions are done, that means you have now gone out of your first stage of ihram. And everything is allowed for you to do. You can wear regular clothes, put perfume, do whatever you like, except being intimate with one spouse. Once somebody does his tawaf al-hajj and the sa'i al-hajj, then at that time he will be or she will be free from ihram, and she can do or he can do anything that they want that is from the things that were forbidden. And al-fidya, this will just discuss the fidya in a little bit. So if somebody commits an action that is forbidden from the things of ihram, and this is something that is done intentionally, like for example, somebody covers their hair intentionally or somebody cuts their hair intentionally, these actions, if somebody puts perfume unintentionally, then these things will require a fidya. And the generic or the baseline fidya is the fidya al-adha, which is for somebody to fast 3 days or slaughter a sheep or feed 6 people. This is like we mentioned for covering the head, cutting the hair or nails, wearing fitted clothes, putting perfume. And this is something that is done on purpose. For hunting, the fidya is different than the generic one. And it is hunting a wild animal that's halal to eat, as we mentioned. The fidya is different and it's more detailed. And also, if somebody commits intercourse with his spouse or her spouse, the fidya is also more. And this is also very important because if somebody does this before tahallul al-ula, the first removing of ihram, first stage of ihram, that hajj will become invalid. The hajj will come invalid. And of course, at the same time, even if it is invalid, they will have to continue. And the last one, the conducting the marriage contract, this person will be sinful, but there's no fidya for that person. So in summary, fidya that's specific to somebody having intercourse with their spouse is one category. And then the second category is somebody doing a fidya for hunting. And there's a category that has no fidya, which is the conducting the marriage certificate or marriage contract. And the last one is fidya al-adha, which is the generic fidya that's for cutting the nails or hair, covering the head, wearing perfume, wearing fitted clothes. This is that we said, which we mentioned, is to fast 3 days or slaughter a sheep or feed 6 people. And now let's talk about the tawaf. So this is regarding tawaf of al-umrah or tawaf al-qudum. So for tawaf, you start at the black stone. And for the tawaf of the umrah and tawaf al-qudum, the sunnah in these actions, only in these types of tawaf, not tawaf al-wada or tawaf al-ifada, only tawaf al-qudum and only tawaf al-umrah is to expose the right shoulder and to walk quickly with small steps. And this is done in the first 3 rounds, if someone's able to do so. Of course, nowadays, Mecca and the Haram and the Kaaba area is very, very packed. Maybe somebody might not be able to do the quick walk with the small steps. And of course, you start at the black stone, as we mentioned, and you start with saying, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. And then the rest, when you get to the black stone, you say Allahu Akbar. So regarding the black stone, there's four things you can do when you get to the black stone. Of course, this is if it is not too crowded. Right now, it could get too crowded, which you don't have opportunity to get to the black stone. But if somebody did, for the benefit of knowing, you would wipe your hand on the black stone and kiss it, or you could wipe your hand and kiss your hand to the black stone, touch it with a stick and then kiss the stick, or stick your hand out towards it only. And this is what most of the people do because it's so crowded. They stick their hand towards the black stone and say Allahu Akbar. After you finish tawaf, it is from the sunnah to go pray 2 rak'ah behind Maqam Ibrahim. And if you can't do it directly behind, anywhere behind it will be fine. And the Prophet ﷺ would recite Surah Al-Kafirun in the first rak'ah and Surah Al-Khalas in the second rak'ah. And then also to drink Zamzam water. And this is important, to drink Zamzam water with the intention of making dua, the intention of following the sunnah, not just to drink it because you're thirsty, but to drink it, making the dua because ma Zamzam is what it is drinking for. So whatever dua you make, Allah will accept that dua while making the dua while drinking Zamzam. So here's a picture of the Kaaba. As we said, we'll start at the black stone saying Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you go around. And as you know, this area right here is considered inside the Kaaba, Hajar Ismail. So this is considered inside the Kaaba. So you don't go through it, you have to go around. Of course, it's all blocked off now, so you can't do that anyways. But these are the two corners, the Yemeni corner and the black stone. So you start here, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you make your lap. And then if you can touch the Yemeni corner, you go ahead. But that's all. You don't kiss it or do anything else to it or put your hands to it. And then between the Yemeni corner and the black stone, as has been reported, that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. This is between the Yemeni corner and the black stone. And you do it 7 times. So one is 1 lap, and you do it 7 times. After the 7th time, you don't say Allahu Akbar. Once you're on your last lap, you don't start, you don't say Allahu Akbar, because Allahu Akbar is only when you're starting the lap. Now, regarding the sa'i. You start the sa'i and you mention the following ayah. When you get to Safa, because you start with Safa, you mention the ayah, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَن يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَاكِرٌ عَلِيمٌ. أبدأ بما بدأ الله به. That this is the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, that indeed the Safa and Marwa, the 2 hills, are from the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whoever makes the major or minor pilgrimage, the Hajj or Umrah, to the sacred house, let them walk between the 2 hills, and whoever does good, Allah is truly appreciative and all-knowing. And you say, I begin with what Allah began with, and that's why Allah began with As-Safa, then Al-Marwa. And then when you say that dua at Safa, you say Allahu Akbar 3 times, then you make the dua. So once you say Allahu Akbar 3 times, you make this dua, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, La ilaha illallah wahdah, anjaza wa'dah, nasara abdah, wa hazama al-ahzaba wahdah. So you'll mention this dua 3 times. Between every time, you'll make dua. So you mentioned this adhkar that we just mentioned. Then you make your dua facing the Kaaba, and then you'll do it again. You'll say this dua twice, a second time, and then you make your dua, and then the 3rd time, then you keep going. After the 3rd time, you would start on your walking towards Marwa. So you start at Safa, and you walk towards Marwa, and you'll see a green light. This green light is basically the bottom of the valley, and for the men to run. The women do not run here, only for the men. And from Safa to Marwa is considered 1 round. So when you go from Safa to Marwa, that's 1. Marwa back to Safa, that's 2. So you start at Safa, and you should end in Marwa. So here's the picture. So you start at Safa, you go here, and there's the green light, you run, then you continue walking, and this is going to Marwa, you have reached 1. Then you go back to Safa, that's 2. Then back to Marwa, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you should end in Marwa. And now ending of the Umrah. So this is for the one who's doing tamattu', he will be finishing his umrah. So after finishing the tawaf and sa'i, then if you are doing tamattu', you should shorten your hair only, do not shave it. So you reason you don't shave it when you're done with umrah because you should have some hair left. So when you are going to finish your hajj, you can shave your hair after that. You have some hair to cut after. And for the one who's doing tamattu', he will now or she will be out of the state of ihram and they can go to wearing regular clothes and doing anything that is not from the forbidden actions. If somebody's doing qiran or ifrad, then that tawaf we mentioned is tawaf al-qudum. Okay, tawaf al-qudum. And that person could do the sa'i or could not do the sa'i. It's optional. And that time, you can do it now or later. The sa'i for hajj. You can do the sa'i of hajj with your tawaf al-qudum, or you can do your sa'i with your tawaf al-ifada. So, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this time, when he did his hajj al-qiran, he did the sa'i muqaddiman early with the tawaf al-qudum. And this is very important, after you do a tawaf al-qudum, and let's say you do your sa'i of hajj, you do not cut your hair because you are still in the state of ihram. You are still in the state of ihram and you will be still wearing your ihram clothes. And the things that are forbidden is still forbidden. Now, let's get to the description of hajj day by day. So before the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, for the one who's doing tamattu', you'll do a full umrah, then wait until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Once the 8th of Dhul Hijjah comes, you go into the state of ihram again from wherever you are. If you're in Mina, you're in a hotel, you're in Antaziyya, any of those places, you'll do the ihram from that place. For the one who's doing qiran or ifrad, when you arrive to Mecca, you do your tawaf al-qudum, which is sunnah. So, for example, if you couldn't do it, it's no problem, but it's best to try to do so, the tawaf al-qudum. And if you like, you can do the sa'i for hajj in this stage, or you can delay it for later to the ifada, but you can do it also in this stage. So in the tawaf al-qudum and tawaf al-umrah, as we said, it is from the sunnah to expose the right shoulder and to walk fast the small steps, as we mentioned in the tawaf slide. The other tawaf, the tawaf al-ifada and tawaf al-wada', you will not apply these two things, as we mentioned. Now getting to the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Tarwiyah, Yawm al-Tarwiyah. So on the 8th day, the one who's doing tamattu' will go to the state of ihram. The one who is qarin or mufrad, he will still be in the ihram from the time he got there. And they will go to Mina by Dhuhr time. The Prophet ﷺ prayed Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, and the next day Fajr in Mina, shortened but not combined. If somebody combines, it's not bad, but it's khalif to the sunnah. It's going opposing to the sunnah. This day, it is a good idea to rest and get ready for the next day because the next day is the day of Arafah. So now getting to the 9th day. So the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah is one of the most important days, if not the most important day, because it is the day of Arafah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Hajju Arafah. The Hajj is Arafah. Without Arafah, there's no Hajj. And this is the day that's very, very special. So after praying in Mina, your Fajr in Mina, you will make your way to Arafah. And on the way to Arafah, there's an area called Batn Urana that we mentioned, which is the area between Muzdalifah and Arafah. So it's outside of Arafah, on the way to Arafah, outside of Arafah. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ stopped and prayed his Dhuhr and Asr combined in the time of Dhuhr, and he gave a khutbah. And this is the khutbah where they have now Masjid Namira. Over there, the Prophet ﷺ, he gave a khutbah. After that, continue to Arafah, and standing of Arafah should be until sunset. As we mentioned from the Wajibaat, should be until sunset. Then, after sunset, you can make your way on to Muzdalifah, as we will mention. So here's a map of Arafah. So here's the mountain that we see the videos and the pictures. So, but to understand, all of this here is Arafah. All of this. So if your cap is here, 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 all this, you can make your dua, and this is all considered inside of Arafah. Okay, and now here is the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah continuing. So as we mentioned, Arafah is the whole area, it is not just the mountain. So the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't necessarily go to the mountain, stand on top of the mountain as some people do today. So do not go into things that the Prophet ﷺ did not do. Focus on your ibadah, focus on your dhikr and your Quran and your dua. Make this day special, because this is the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees his slaves from the hellfire. As the Prophet ﷺ said in hadith by Imam Muslim, ما من يوم أكثر من أن يعتق الله فيه عبدا من النار من يوم عرفة وإنه ليدنو ثم يباهي بهم الملائكة فيقول ما أراد هؤلاء. The Prophet ﷺ said, there's no day which Allah frees more of His servants from the hellfire than the day of Arafah. He draws near and He boasts to His angels, saying, what do they want? So this is a day that's very special. And also this is a day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا, that I have completed your religion. أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي, and I compiled or put on my favors, fulfilled all the favors upon you. ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا, and I'm pleased with your religion of Islam. And in this day, one of the best dua to make is what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in Hadith of Imam al-Tirmidhi. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال خير الدعاء دعاء يوم عرفة. The best dua is a dua on the day of Arafah. وخير ما قلت أنا والنبيون من قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. That the best dua is what was said by the Prophet ﷺ and the prophets before him. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah alone without any partners. Unto him belongs all the dominion and praise, and he has all power over all things. So this is dua. This is the day we should have a compilation of dua we want to recite. We should have something put together of the dua we want to mention on this day, because this day you should exhaust all of your energy in making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Allah to forgive us, to have mercy on us, to grant us what's best in our lives and our hereafter. This is the day where you should focus, turn off your phones, don't get distracted, focus and spend this day in dua and worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as this is the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees us from the hellfire. So after the sunset has set, then you must make your way now towards Muzdalifah, and make sure to go with tranquility and calmness. Do not rush, do not push, do not shove. Go with calmness. This is an ibadah, this is an act of worship. On your way to Muzdalifah, to go calmly. And it's from the sunnah to delay the Maghrib and Isha until you reach Muzdalifah, until you reach there in the time of Isha. But as we know how busy it can get nowadays, if it is getting very late, almost past midnight, then you should pray the Maghrib and Isha in Arafah before getting to Muzdalifah. But if you can pray them in Muzdalifah before midnight, then that is best to do so. So you will stay in the night in the Muzdalifah, will sleep the night, and this is one of the wajibat as we mentioned. And the Prophet ﷺ made a rukhsa, kind of giving the people who are weak or old or not able to do so, they can leave after midnight. But the safest opinion, the safest option is to leave after the last third of the night. And it is best to stay until Fajr. And then after the Muzdalifah, when you wake up, it will be the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, which you will pray Fajr in Muzdalifah. Then you'll make your way to Al-Ma'shar and Al-Haram. Okay, so this here, Al-Mash'ar Al-Haram. You'll make your way to Al-Mash'ar Al-Haram, as Allah mentions, فَإِذَا أَفَضْتُم مِّنْ عَرَفَاتٍ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ عِندَ الْمَشْعَرِ الْحَرَامِ وَاذْكُرُوهُ كَمَا هَدَاكُمْ وَإِن كُنتُم مِّن قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الضَّالِّينَ. So Allah mentions that after you finish from Arafat, and then you would recite and you go to Al-Ma'shar Al-Haram, and this is the area that when you're leaving Muzdalifah going back to Mina, you will see that وَذْكُرُوهُ كَمَا هَدَاكُمْ, and this is the time where you should recite and make dhikr and dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, glorify and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and on your way to Mina. And you make dua in this area, Al-Mash'ar Al-Haram, until it gets a little bit yellow. So after Fajr, not until Shuruq, but until it's a little bit yellow, you would make dua in this area, glorify Allah, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Shuruq, when it's a little bit yellow outside, and then you make your way to Mina. And then on that day, when you get to Mina, after the Fajr time will still be in early morning, you'll pass through a place called Al-Muhassir. And Muhassir is a small valley between Muzdalifah and Mina, as we showed you in the pictures before. And it's from the sunnah to go there very, very fast. Do not stay there and dwell in that place, but to rush through it. And then once you get to Mina area, which is, and you stop by Al Jamarat, you pick up 7 stones. You can pick them up in on the way, or you can pick it up from the Jamarat area. You pick up 7 stones. These 7 stones will be thrown on this day, on the day of Eid, Yom al-Nahr. And this day you will throw the 7 stones at Jamaat al-Kubra, which is also called al-Aqaba. Every throw you will say Allahu Akbar. You will throw and say Allahu Akbar, but every throw, so you throw them separately, one at a time, in this area. And this is a whole hawd. It's kind of like a pool. It's like an area. You throw it. You don't have to hit the stone or the wall, but you just have to throw it in the area. And then after you do your rami, after you throw your 7 stones at the Jamaat al-Kubra, then you offer your hadi. If you cannot offer the hadi, this is also very important clarification. If you cannot offer the hadi for some reason, then you must fast 3 days in the haram and 7 days when you get back. But nowadays, it's very easy to be able to make sure you have your hadi done. Then you shave your head for the men, or cut it, but it's better to shave it. And for the women, they must cut at least 1 fingertip of length from their hair. And then once you have done that, now you have gotten out of the first stage of ihram, which means you can wear normal clothes, you can do everything, wear perfume, hat, whatever you like, except being intimate with someone's spouse. So this is the tahallul al-ula. This is now exiting the first stage of ihram. So this is a picture of Jamarat. So this is the pool area I was referring to. You throw it in this area. It doesn't have to hit this wall. And then after you finish your Rami of the Jamaat al-Aqaba, and also your slaughtering and then cutting of the hair, then you will do your Tawaf al-Ziyara or Tawaf al-Ifada or Tawaf al-Hajj, as it's been called. If you're doing Tamattu', then you also do the Sa'i of Hajj here. If you're doing Qiran or Ifrad and you did not do the Sa'i with your Qudum, you do it here. But if you already did your Tawaf you already did your Sa'i with your Tawaf al-Qudum, then you do not do Sa'i here. And as we mentioned, in this Tawaf is different because we do not expose our shoulder and do not walk quickly in the first 3 laps. This is a typo. After that, you are completely out of ihram. So once you have done your Tawaf al-Hajj and Sa'i of al-Hajj, you have finished now your pillars, and now you can leave the state of ihram. You can wear now your regular clothes, and now you can do anything that's from the forbidden actions of ihram. And then on the 11th day, the days of Tashriq, from Mina, you make your way to Jamarat and throw the 7 stones at each Jamara. Okay? And this is done after Zawal, but before Dhuhr time. So before you pray Dhuhr, after Zawal, the Prophet ﷺ, that's when he did his throwing, his Rami at Jamarat. So, and you start, this is very important, you start at Jamra al-Sughra, then at Jamra al-Wusta, then at Jamra al-Kubra. So you start from the small, middle, and then the big one. And on the 12th day, you do the same thing as you did on the 11th. After Zawal, you go do your Jamra al-Sughra wal-Wusta wal-Kubra, and then you would pray your Dhuhr after. But if you did it after you prayed Dhuhr, it's still okay, it's all fine. And this is important. If you are in the Muta'ajjal package, the package that finishes on the 12th day, you must leave Mina before Maghrib. If you stay there in Mina until Maghrib time, then it's mandatory for you to stay until the 3rd day as well. So if you are doing the Muta'ajjal package, and then you finish your Jamarat, you throw your 21 stones, 7, 7, 7, and then when you're going to leave Mecca, you must do the Tawaf al-Wada' before leaving. And this should be the last thing you do in Mecca in the Haram before leaving. And then the 13th, you do the same for the ones who are doing the Mut'akhir package, you do the same thing after. You do the same thing as the 12th, as we mentioned, and the 13th day. So you do your Rami of the Jamarat and all 3 of them, and then you will do your Tawaf al-Wada' before leaving Mecca. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our Hajj and to accept all of our actions and to make this Hajj mabrur and accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.